Hello and welcome to the Next Gen Racing YouTube channel for our week review of the Cheltenham Festival. And we're now proudly sponsored by Star Sports for probably the remainder of the season. So we're looking forward to that. But we've got an excellent sort of review of the festival here. It wasn't the finest week for myself and Jack. Don't get me wrong, our selections didn't quite go our way. However, we did land a couple of anti-post punts. Myself with the Ballymore with Sir Garhard to put that horse up at 10-1 actually a year in advance for the race, and Jack put up Aflutar for the Gold Cup at around 8-1, which was a fantastic moment. We will get on to that. I actually landed my best bet of the week with Le Presse. I'm sure we'll discuss his performance as well, because that was an excellent jumping display. But Jack, look, I think everything for yourself, everything you didn't want to happen, seemed to happen during that week. But you were there all 4 days. It was magical, wasn't it?
Oh, it was an unbelievable 4 days. I mean, there was so much fun, so many new faces. Thank you if you came up and saw Sal and myself. We very much appreciate the support. I mean, it was brilliant to see so many familiar and new faces at the festival. Look, the horse racing was just magical, wasn't it? There was I think you couldn't wipe the smile off anyone's faces there. I mean, there was a record 68,000 on the Tuesday. Of course, from a punting perspective, it was so frustrating. The heavens opened. It felt like there was about 50 millimetres of rain on Wednesday. Of course, that was to the detriment of both Unexpected Party and, of course, Nube Negra. And then I don't really want to even start mentioning the L word, Langadan. I've actually never exclaimed, like, let out as a loud a shout as I did with Langadan. I was standing there watching on the rail up in the stand, and as soon as I just saw Harry's head disappear, I've let out this huge no, and just crouched down on all fours. And obviously the commentators didn't get it straight away, so I think I got a few odd looks. But then, of course, there was a few gasps when everyone realised Langadan had gone. But look, it was an absolutely phenomenal week. I can't wait to do it all again next year, and hopefully have a couple more winners.
Yeah, it was a mad moment, the whole Langadan situation. You were shouting no, but all the bookmakers behind me were certainly cheering, because that horse was heavily backed. I think they were all in for a big loss if he had landed. And yeah, like Jack said, look, thank you so much to everyone who did approach me. I want to thank a bloke actually called Dan, who actually bought me a pint at the festival, saying that he loved watching the channel. So yeah, Dan, I don't know your surname, but feel free to comment and let me know, and I will pop you a message as well. Let's get on to the racing and some of the highlights from each day. Jack and I'll go through those. We'll start off with day one. I'm sure the highlight for everyone's got to be Honeysuckle winning a second champion hurdle. We keep crabbing this horse, Jack. A lot of people keep crabbing her with the form of the races that she's in, but look, she just keeps doing it, and she does it easy, and she was spectacular on the Tuesday.
Oh, she was. I mean, look, we don't need to spend too much time talking about Honeysuckle, but look, it's a great story for racing. The queen of racing, with Rachel Blackmore on board before she's gone and won the Gold Cup as well. Look, she keeps finding and finding and finding. I just want to know what she's going to do if she is up against Constitution Hill, because I think she'll probably just get better and better and better. Constitution Hill, of course, has only had the 3 runs under rules. Look, Honeysuckle beats what's in front of her, and yeah, she did it with relative ease, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, and it's fantastic to hear that the connections are seeming likely to go again for a third year and try and get that third champion hurdle, which would be unbelievable. I'm sure it's going to be more competitive now with some of the novice hurdlers joining in. And let's just discuss some of the other highlights from day one, Jack. I mean, one of these horses you just mentioned, Constitution Hill, received the BHA rating of 170, which is absolutely crazy. I'm sure that's going to be a fascinating matchup, whether that happens this season or next season. We're not quite sure yet. Edwardstone in the Arkle. And Maurice Rock in the mares. I was actually shocked to see Maurice Rock win the mares, because Adagio didn't run his race in the champion hurdle. And if you base that on form, Maurice Rock was one of those in that Greatwood that I kept going on about before the Cheltenham Festival. She went and won, but Adagio didn't seem to want to run his race. But those were the highlights, Jack. And is there any that you really wanted to take away from those?
Oh, look, of course, I was on the receiving end of a Nico de Boinville class ride on board Maurice Rock. I was all over Queensbrook as well. A lot of people I know, of course, I've tipped up Maurice Rock on Boxing Day, so it was kind of a bit of shooting myself in the foot, the way she won the mares. It's weird to think she's a Grade 1 winner. Of course, she was only a Class 3 winner back on Boxing Day, so it's interesting to see there. Look, Constitution Hill, what is there to say? I mean, it was magnificent, wasn't it? I mean, Jean Bon has run a relatively good race there. But, I mean, he was 22 lengths behind Constitution Hill. Look, he finds, he jumps, he's super exciting. I don't know if I want to see him take on Honeysuckle just yet at Punchestown. I think that'd be a big crescendo perhaps for Honeysuckle's career next year. On Honeysuckle, I don't really know why there was even a question of her retiring or not. I thought it was kind of a God-given certainty she was going to run next year, and then the whole retirement question would come into question next year. I thought she was very impressive. She doesn't look like she's any weaker than she has been over the past couple of years. Edwardstone, look, he was absolutely foot perfect. I thought it was a brilliant jumping display, and of course Derek Fox on board Karak Rambler as well. What an unbelievable ride that was. So yeah, a brilliant first day all in all.
It really was, and the British got off to an absolute flyer on day one. I have to be honest, when you're someone like myself and you're previewing race, you've got to be honest. And I have to say, Constitution Hill and Edwardstone, I got completely wrong. I didn't expect them to win in the way they did, but they really did run their hearts out. And I think Edwardstone, a lot of people are saying that this horse is not going to be competitive next season. It wouldn't surprise me if the Arthur winners' records going into next season, what they can achieve. So don't give up on Edwardstone. I think he'll probably actually only improve for another season. So we'll have to look forward to that. Now let's go on to day two quickly. The highlight day, you probably talk about the champion chase here. The highlight of the day. But there was only one magical moment on the walkout day, and that was Tiger Roll. Despite not winning, what a gallant performance this was on ground that we were sure he wasn't going to like. He made it all the way to the 5-star to the league, going to win, and Delta Work for the same connections came through and stole it on the line. And look, a lot of people discussing about the booing after racing it and whether that should happen or not. I think it was done in vain, a bit of a joke, but you know, it was a fantastic ride, don't get me wrong, from Jack Kennedy, and he's loved this horse. What was talked in a sort of had to stand out in the rain for this one to give it a watch, but that was some moment.
Yeah, it was. It was absolutely sensational, wasn't it? I mean, fair play to Jack Kennedy. I mean, he's protected the integrity of racing by getting a winner for himself on the board, because, I mean, he was absolutely buzzing afterwards. I don't really think he knew what he'd actually done. But look, it was a great fairy tale ending, the way they were both kind of walking up the chute together. Didn't quite get the ending we were all hoping for with Tiger winning. I was kind of just almost shaking my head in awe as Delta Work came past that they'd actually decided to run him against Tiger Roll. We'd spoken about it, but I denied it time after time that they'd ever do it. But look, they did it. Tiger had a great race, and I mean, he bows out in great form.
Yeah, it really does. And Delta Works already a very short price favourite for next year's cross country, I see. Other highlights on day two: Sir Gerhard in the Ballymore. That was a superb performance. Thank God, Journey with me, my selections. Thank God he got up. That was one of the biggest cheers of the day. I was right down by that last hurdle, and it didn't look great, but I'm so glad that horse got up. Lahon Presse, like I say, my nap of the festival, he jumped them silly in the Brown Advisory. That was some jumping display. In my opinion, probably over Allaho might have actually been the best jumping display of the week, but that's up for discussion. Energamine in the Champion Chase, we saw Shishkin blow out in that one. That was a really interesting race to watch. I thought at one point Envoy Lem was actually going to go and win that. And the Champion Bumper, obviously Facile Vega, I think that could be a very good Champion Bumper, and we all like to hope that going into the novice hurdling campaign. But I thought Facile Vega was very good. Jack, quick discussion on those four.
Yeah, look, another terrific day. I mean, so Gerhard just oozed class no matter what ground it is, what trip it was. One thing we learned from this week is Willie Mullins gets it spot on. I don't know why we ever kind of question him about his placing. He got it spot on with pretty much everything he did. Of course, Galopin de Champ didn't pay off for him, but of course that was an exceptional circumstance, which we'll come on to. Long Presser, I think you're a little bit, that's a big claim, that. I think Allaho's jumping performance, he jumped so straight and he's so accurate. I mean, if you kind of put an overlap of every single one of his fences, they probably look absolutely identical. But look, Long Presse did jump phenomenally, it's fair to say. If only a Hoy Senior could jump. He's got so much ability. I think if they can teach him to jump, I think he's got a huge chance in the Gold Cup next year. But my oh my, he does need to jump because he rallied so well to the line. I thought there, and of course, great to see Gaillard de Manil run a big race. Yeah, Champion Chase was a weird one. I think Shishkin blowing out in the way that he did almost kind of adds more credit to Honeysuckle's performance on the Tuesday. That the fact that she never finds excuses. Yes, she hasn't had to deal with the ground that Shishkin had to, but of course the Champion Chase will always be scarred for me because I thought Nube Negra had a great chance. So there we are. Andy Dufresne was probably one that got away in the Grand Annual. And look, Facile Vega going into next year, he's going to be a hot favourite wherever he goes, whether it's the Supreme or Ballymore. A lot of people have already shoehorned him into the Supreme catalogue. I'm not too sure. I think he's probably a bit more of a stayer, so it'd be interesting to see if he does go to the Ballymore or Supreme. Personally, I'd probably be edging towards the Ballymore. But yeah, another great day.
Yeah, Pascal Vega's been one of those horses I can already see it next year, where people are umming and ahhing probably a week before the festival which race he's going to end up in, to be totally honest. But yeah, it's up to the debate. I mean, it's not often a question that's asked, but who was the best jumping display of the festival? Let us know down in the comments who you thought the best jumping display was at the festival. I do think Lon Presse was absolutely outstanding. I don't mean he touched a twig. Let's go on to day 3 now, the Thursday. The highlight of the day here, it's not actually one of my favourite days of racing, but this was probably, in my opinion, one of the rides of the week. And this was Danny Mullins aboard Flooring Porter winning his second stayers hurdle. Now, this was superb. Set the fractions absolutely perfect from the front. And I was actually stood by the chute where they came out, and I saw all the owners in the black and white scarves when he won, flying down. I don't know how much drink they had, to be totally honest, but they were flying down the chute to come cheer him in. And they gave some celebration for Danny Mullins. I'm sure it was a hell of a night out for them. Jack, Flooring Porter, I mean, he's going to be the favourite again next year. There's no reason why he's probably not going to end up there and do the same next year, but that was a special ride.
Well, yeah, that's unless Buzz can come back from his injury in good form. So it'll be interesting to see what Buzz can do. But yeah, both Allaho and Flooring Porter, they were absolutely mustard rides, weren't they? I was somewhat surprised in running to see that they both got such easy leads, because I thought the only way you were really going to get Flooring Porter beaten is if you kind of challenged him up front, but no one wanted to do that. I thought the race almost kind of got a bit away. Take nothing away from Danny Mullins. I thought it was a perfect ride. He stopped him from jinking as he usually does, and all his little quirks, which he has. But look, it was great to see Flooring Porter do the business as it was Allaho. It'd be interesting to see what they do with Allaho. I know they're probably going to keep him at the Ryanair, but it kind of seems like no one really wants to go to the Ryanair, and they kind of just have to pick up Allaho's pieces, is fair to say. So yeah, they're both cracking rides, and yeah, of course we'll probably move on to Galopin Des Champs now.
Yeah, we will. And this was a really interesting race between Bob Ollinger and Galopin Des Champs. Obviously, we did have the other two in there with Bustleton and El Barra. But look, this is I've been listening to all the comments over the last week or so saying that Bob Ollinger, he made a noise and he didn't seem right. And you know, Henry saying to see a horse like Galopin Des Champs do that to Bob Ollinger, take some special horse, and he looked really good. And I don't actually think the Galopin Des Champs jumped that last fence badly at all, by the way. I just think that the horse's landing gear, it kind of came out and then went back in again at some point. A lot of people cheering as that horse had landed. But the thing is, he kind of had, but just kind of went down his front legs. What do I make of it? Because I've seen a lot of people tipping this horse up for a Gold Cup already. And I've seen someone on video feed saying that this horse here, a bit of an overreaction, this horse being single figure for a Gold Cup. I understand that. I actually get that point. I'm not sure that I'd be backing this horse at single figure odds for a Gold Cup. I think it's way too early with the jumping display. The fact Willie Mullins might take his horse back to 2 miles to work on the jumping. I just think there's a potentially another couple of years, another year in this horse before he can be a Gold Cup standard level. I might be proven wrong there, but look, he's an interesting horse, Jack. It'd be interesting to see what Bob Ollinger does. Hopefully they keep the horse over fences, but they may even revert back to hurdles. Who knows? It could be an option for them. But Galopin Des Champs, do you think actually he's too short as a single figure priced horse in a Gold Cup?
Probably. I think novices, after their novice campaign, they get hyped up quite a lot with regards to a Gold Cup, just because we don't know how much more there is to come. But Willie opting to stay over 2.5 instead of 3, I think, is a big indication that 3 mile 2 in the Gold Cup. Is he really going to stay a year after being a novice? I'm not too sure. Does he really need to work on the jumping? I'm not sure either. I thought he jumped very nice until that last fence, which just looked really odd. He kind of buckled on landing. I think it was Mr. Johnson, who was commentating at the time, actually said he's over safe, and everyone kind of thought he was as well. Bob Ollinger, it's interesting. Look, I think a lot of people were making out that he's been beat. He was going to be beaten by 60, 70 lengths. He still beat Bustleton by 40 lengths. I think a lot of people are making something out of not too much, really. He didn't run a terrible race. We know he was beaten by a very, very good performer. Would have been beaten by a very good performer in Galopin Des Champs. I know Henry the Bromhead's come out and said step him up in trip, which I understand. The only thing for me is people are already saying send him to the stayers, get him over hurdles. I'm not too sure. I don't actually think he jumped all that badly until probably the last fifth of the race. Galopin Des Champs is obviously very impressive. Will he be winning a Gold Cup next year? I definitely wouldn't be putting any money on him right now.
Yeah, it's way too early to be back in my opinion, some horses, any single figure price horses, a year out for the festival.
Except
To be totally
Allaho.
honest.
Except Allaho.
Like, he's going to go back and win it, is he? You never know. You might even see Galloping turn up there next year. Who knows? It might be an option for them. We'll also mention, I'll just quickly mention Love Envoy on that Thursday as well. That horse was well back, considering the ground was kind of still on the softer side. And that is a very, very gallant mare. This horse has been a real consistent performer. It was great to see Harry Fry in the winners' enclosure at Cheltenham once again. Let's go on to day 4 then. This was Gold Cup day, and obviously there's only one highlight and one place to be, and that's Rachel Blackmore winning the Gold Cup aboard A Plus Tard, the first female jockey to win a champion hurdle, the first female jockey to win a Grand National, and now the first female jockey to win a Cheltenham Gold Cup. Jack, it's some feat, and she's becoming such a role model for so many young people in the sport.
Yeah, what a moment it was. Of course, thankfully, I actually tipped something. If it wasn't for A Plus Tard, I wouldn't have tipped up an anti-post winner as well. So it was nice. It was nice to have him at 8-1. But look, it was just a cracking moment for the sport. I literally couldn't wipe the smile off my face as he kind of went bounding up the hill 4, 5, 6 lengths clear. I mean, everyone was absolutely elated. I went and saw A Plus Tard get washed down after as well, and trundle his way off to the stables. It was just an absolutely brilliant moment for the sport, wasn't it? I mean, everyone was just jubilant with what had happened. I mean, I think a lot of people doubted A Plus Tard staying. I was definitely one of those. I wasn't too sure he was going to stay 3 mile 2, but my God, did he. A lot of people say Robbie Power probably went a little bit early on Milena Indo. Not too sure about that. I just think he probably got outstayed on the day. But yeah, it was an absolutely cracking race. Protectorate will probably come back next year. We could have another great Gold Cup lined up for next year. 2 out when the camera angle went in. Manila Indo was almost just sitting there as a sitting duck, and there was 5 abreast coming to challenge him. It was a great moment. I was on the edge of my seat, and yeah, I mean, it was a great race. Quickly on the Thursday, also I want to mention Cool Cody. What an 11-year-old he was to win the plate by 6.5 lengths. Every time I've seen him headed, he has not rallied in that fashion. I mean, if you could own one horse who's not one of the top dogs, I know Cool Cody would definitely be up there for myself. But yeah, the Gold Cup on the Friday, what a moment.
It really was. It was a really special moment for Rachel Blackmore, Henry de Bromhead and the team. Another Gold Cup. He's had the forecast and 2 Gold Cups now, but it's the reverse forecast from last year. So, yeah, it really is some feat. It's going to be a hell of a Gold Cup next season. I think Protectorate is definitely one to keep on the right side of. I'm sure the Skelton's going to be already planning towards the Gold Cup with that horse. But yeah, it's all about A Plus Tard. I think that's going to be it for this season. They're going to go for the Betfair Chase, from what I've heard, and that'll be the plan next. So we'll be waiting a little while. We've still got the flat season to come. We'll move on and discuss what the plans are for that at the end of this video. Other sort of big highlights on the day. Triumph was a hell of a race. The top 3 in the betting were the 1, 2, 3. With Pied Piper, Phil Dore and Vauban, who was the winner of that race. He could be lively in the champion hurdle. Although I always seem to say this after a Triumph wins, the juveniles don't have the best of records going into champion hurdle the next year. The nice guy in the Bartlett, William Mullins, is just stealing the show. I don't think even he expected this one to win, but I don't think many people expect a horse to win the Albert Bartlett at a short price, because there always seems to be a decent price winner of this race. That horse won at around 18-1. LMA, a horse that I'd kind of written off. I thought Constantista was going to go and win this. She never looked right throughout her race, but LMA was very gallant and a really decent performance in the Mayor's Chase. Jack, any other races from there to take out?
Oh yeah, Patrick Mullins with the ride of the week, in my opinion, on board Billaway. Unfortunately, a lot of people who I knew were on Winged Leader, but look, Patrick Mullins just kept on and on and on, and Mark Walsh as well on board LMA. It looked like LMA didn't really want to win, but Mark Walsh made sure she wanted to win. I thought they were 2 great moments. And of course, State Man winning the county in some style off 141. I mean, I think a winning margin of a length and a quarter by no means flattered his superiority over his rivals. I think he's an exciting horse into the future. I'm not too sure where he's going to go, but yeah, I know with Vauban, I know you were saying we always say they could be champion hurdle contenders, but I actually think the front 3 are very decent juveniles, and I think Vauban is probably, if I was going to take one out of Constitution Hill, Honeysuckle or Vauban to take to the champion hurdle at the current prices, it would actually probably be Vauban. I think he probably has a little bit more to come, and I think that is his only intended target.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see whether they actually go for a flat campaign with Vauban. I don't know if that's an option, but whether they aim for something like a Cesarovic, or even if Rich is bold enough to take on and get this horse handicap for a Melbourne Cup. Be interesting to see if they do take a flat campaign before going back over the hurdles again, but we'll have to wait and see with regards to that one. Another horse for Rich Ritchie I do actually want to touch that we didn't touch on day 1. was a horse called Gaelic Warrior, who looked like he was coming into the bend absolutely cruising. I'm still not sure. Actually, I don't care what price you were on this horse at, but I'm still not sure how this horse didn't win. I'm not sure what happened at the last, but the horse couldn't have jumped more right at the last hurdle and got beaten by Brazil. But Jack, the horse was definitely in some ways very well handicapped for that race, you could tell. But just, I don't know what to make, because you've got to say, this horse first run over hurdles in England or Ireland. If that was a performance, just I don't know, somewhere at punches down the class 2 hurdle, then we'd be saying, God, that's a horse to note. But, because the horse was so short, I think people were really crabbing the performance. But is that horse now a horse to really be aware of for next season if they can get this horse jumping?
Yeah, of course it is. But I think that result was one for the good guys. It was one for the good guys. No stupid, what have you heard? What should he be handicapped on his French form? We've been able to see Brazil doing in good style and then come and win the Boodles. I think a 6-4 favourite of the Boodles. One for the good guys that he got beaten.
There you go. I can say now, I watched that race in the Centaur and it could not have gone more quiet when he was beaten. And just one more horse, if you do want something to know. It's not actually a horse, but David Maxwell to win next year's Fox Hunters Chase, because I really want him to win one. He took another tumble on Bob and Co, and I was so sorry for him, because he really does deserve that Cheltenham winner. It's got to come for him. I hope he doesn't retire before he gets that Cheltenham Festival winner, because I'm never going to give up on David Maxwell in the Fox Hunters. He is going to win it one day. Right, before we go, Jack and I will give 2 selections for next year's festival. This is where I actually pulled out my only winner of the Anti-Post series from last year.
No pressure. No pressure.
Yeah, there is no pressure. And I'll kick things off my first selection. I'm going to, look, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Let's stay with the Ballymore, where my winner came from last year. And I'm going to be with the third in the bumper, which was James's Gate, who I thought stayed on really, really well in that bumper. And if you look at previous bumpers for this horse, I mean, the previous run, the speed was shown as well. Any horse you can show speed and staying power, in my opinion, the Ballymore has got to be the main aim. Bartlett wouldn't be on the agenda for a horse who has speed. It's either the Supreme or Ballymore. But the one thing that really tempts us, and we mentioned this with What Do You Want, who finished probably a lucky third in the Ballymore this year, is owned by the sponsors of the Ballymore. And all I say is that I'm sure that the sponsors are going to want to have the winner again of this race. Obviously, they had City Island a few years back. I think they're going to want to go again and try and win this race. And I'm sure they'll be working backwards from a Ballymore. So the horse is around 16-1 at the moment, but I'd probably say that's not too bad a price for the Ballymore at this stage. Jack, what's your first selection for a 2023 Anti-Post?
Well, my first selection last year was Galopin de Champ at 25-1 for the Brown Advisory. So my first one's going to be another 25-1 Brown Advisory selection. So if you want, you can get on for them for the Turners, because they'll probably go there. But look, it's going to be Blazing Carl at around 25-1 for the Brown Advisory. Of course, he wasn't seen in the Albert Bartlett. I just thought he was really impressive at Cheltenham on his previous 2 starts. He couldn't really jump a twig, which does scare me, of course, if they do choose to go chasing. I'm pretty sure he is going to go chasing. But look, of course, Charlie Burns won the Albert Bartlett with Weapons Amnesty, and then next year they followed up in the RSA. I don't think there's too many dissimilarities between the two, so it'll be interesting to see if Blazing Carl does choose to go that route. I think he's a little bit forgotten about, and at 25-1 he may be one to keep an eye on.
Okay, and my second selection before we stop talking about Cheltenham for about 8 months is going to be a horse who wasn't actually beaten, was a faller, and this is Journey With Me, who I think is going to be running against your selection, Jack, in the Brown Advisory next year. I think I've always been a fan of this horse. I've always looked at him and probably said he's more of a chaser than a hurdler. I think the connections have always been excited for this horse to go chasing. I think they've always wanted to sort of go for that Ballymore route and then step him up the following season to go to something like a Brown Advisory. He looks like a chaser. Look, he put up a really decent performance from the front in the Ballymore. I'm shocked that they went for that route in the end. I thought they'd have something set in the pace out for him and he'd come through with a late run, because I know that this horse stays. But yeah, I think he's going to be the one for me. I think hopefully that they get a good season, a good tune out of him over fences. And he, again, is around 16-1 for the Brown Advisory Novices Chase next year. Jack, your final selection for Cheltenham 2023?
My final selection, of course, I had to have a gander and see what Langadan was being priced up for next year's Martin Pipe. And have a guess, actually. Have a guess what one betting firm have priced Langadan up for next year's Martin Pipe.
8.
10-1. He is just a double-figure price. What a disgrace, eh? What a disgrace. 2 months ago, I put him up at 16-1 for this year's. He goes off at 7-2, falls, gets brought down at the second, and he's 10-1 already. Oh, Sam, goodness me. No, the last one. Sorry, I'm bringing the pain on myself now. Actually, the last one's going to be the big lad himself, Bardenstown lad, for the National Hunt Chase at around 25-1. Look, as we said, he was going to be off the bid as early as he was in the Albert Bartlett, but he stays and he stays and he stays. And my word, what a fighter he is. He finished third in the Albert Bartlett. He wants further and further. I think he's going to keep going for 5, 10, give him 20 miles. I think he'll probably be staying on. But look, if Bardenstown lad, he looks quite tailor-made for that National Hunt Chase. My only worry would be that the National Hunt Chase perhaps now is not what it used to be, and perhaps there's a little bit more unexposed types like Statler, like Galvin, who are probably a little bit classier than the old National Hunt Chase winner used to be. But nonetheless, I think Bardenstown lad at 25-1, he'll be another to keep an eye on.
There we go. You can see our selections on the screen now for 2023, and that is going to be it with regards to Cheltenham. For around about, we've looked into it, around about 8 months until we're probably going to start talking about it again. Obviously, we still have some jumps action coming up. We've still got Aintree and we have Punchestown as well, still to look forward to. But this weekend, Jack and I will be back on Friday for a preview of the weekend where we're going to be looking at the Lincoln at Doncaster meeting there, and also some of the racing from Meydan for the Dubai World Cup night. A bit of flat action to get stuck into. Just to let you know, those who have been watching the channel, I actually did put the horse up. Darkness at 33-1. Those who actually watched that and end up getting on that tip, the horse is now almost single-figure prices. So well done to those who managed to get on. Hopefully, Jason Watson gets a good tune out of him. And if you want an early tip, I'll probably be putting him up for the race on Saturday anyway. But yeah, look, we're looking forward to bringing you that. As always, do check Star Sports down. The link's down in the description. You can go sign up to them now, and we will see you on Friday morning. Thanks for watching.